First of all, I just want to say, everybody, welcome to today's call. I am excited to have you all here. What an exciting group. I'm going to ask you all, just from a courtesy perspective, if you'll go in and just put your audio on mute so that we don't have any background noise. There's a lot of people, over 100 people on the call today. We'll probably get to 150 or 175 before we're done. And so if you have background noise, then I'm just going to ask you to turn it off. I'm going to also let you know that Mark will be sticking on the call with us. We're going to open it up to questions and answers. And I'm going to encourage you to use the chat box for questions. And so if everybody wants to go into the chat box and say hello, Amy Seiden says, hi, Verl, but I can't hear you. So tell her to go ahead and turn her sound up, because I know it's working, Mark. And so happy to have Amy here, and Kathy, and all of those that have said hello. Just go into the chat box so you know how to use it. We have there's incredible things that are going on in the world right now. And there's some devastation and some horrible things that are happening to people that are being affected by the coronavirus. And I want everybody to know that as a company, and just for me personally, that, I don't take any of this lightly. We're in Salt Lake City, where we've had a very low, we're like 40 people have passed. And so we've been very fortunate that we haven't had the pandemic at a massive scale like some of the markets, like where Mark Seiden is calling in from today. And my heart goes out to everybody who's being affected by this. And it's a real deal, and it's devastating for those of you that are in marketplaces where the virus has gotten a hold and it's taken its toll. We just want you to know that our thoughts and prayers are with you. We care about you and your families. And we know that you're being touched by this stupid coronavirus. And, we hope that we get a handle on it and get it knocked out of our culture soon. And so with that said, Mark, I know you're right in the middle of New York, where a lot of things are going on. Has the coronavirus put an end to real estate as you know it? Is it over? Are you done?
Oh, no, quite the opposite. Since most agents have really kind of shut down on their advertising and marketing, we stepped it up. So obviously we cut out a lot of expenses on things that we didn't really need or could use. Like, during this executive order, we're not allowed to, call people for expired. So whatever programs that we're using for that, we put on the side. But then what we did is I took that money and I actually invested it. I'm paying more for Zillow. I'm paying more for Google Ads. I'm paying more for my staff to do a lot of these virtual open houses. We're actually disseminating, right before this call, I got the nicest phone call from a lady who's probably over 100. We actually bought 10,000 plastic single carnations, and we created little labels that we put on it. And I just hired a whole bunch of people, and they're just going from neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood, putting one carnation in everybody's property right next to the mailbox. And I'm getting the nicest calls. So this is where we put it in. So we have a lot of pent up demand that when things get lifted, plus my buyer agents are making deals. We just put something in signed contract literally an hour ago that we showed a week ago without showing it.
So Mark, if you don't mind, tell us where you are geographically and a little bit about your team.
Sure. So we are about 35 miles north of New York City. So we're in Westchester County, which is the first county outside of New York City. We are on major shutdown. Our offices are closed. We are only allowed to do things virtually. We are not allowed to meet sellers. We are not allowed to meet buyers. We are not allowed to open up a lockbox, get in our car and be at the end of the driveway, watching buyers come in. We cannot do any of that in New York. Zero, zilch, nothing. We are able to schedule or find a way to schedule showings directly between buyers and sellers, almost FSBO style. And then we kind of take over from there. There are ways to virtually show houses. So I have some buyer agents now that are actually busier now than they were pre-pandemic. On the listing side, it's a little hurting. There are probably more scared sellers out there to let people in their houses than buyers to go out and maybe see one or two houses. Because with buyers, a lot of times they may only want to see one or two or three houses and they'll buy. They don't seem to be as frightened. Sellers that may have to have 1, 2, 3, 10, 15, 20, 30 people in their house before it sells, we're finding that more sellers are afraid. So we've got a lot of pent up sellers ready to go, but putting them on the market is here and there.
Very, very interesting. And tell just a little bit about how many people on your team. What does it look like? What's the structure of your team?
Yeah, so we have more admin than we do agents, which is kind of cool. Prior to this pandemic, I was working a whopping I don't know, 18 to 25 hours a week. That's how much I worked. Meanwhile, we were doing, quite a good number of closings. I have 5 buyer agents. I have 1 listing partner, and I have 5, 6, 9 admin people between field services people, marketing people, listing coordinators, transaction coordinators, and kind of putting it all together. And, really what that kind of gave me were 2 things. One, it certainly gave me a lot of closings, but one of the benefits that I was really looking for was not necessarily to double my business every year, which would be freaking awesome if I was doing that, but to really give me a lot of time. So I consider myself to be completely not retired, but working 18 to 25 hours a week pre-pandemic. Was pretty like half retired. So I've been traveling more and working less and training more than I've ever did before prior to the pandemic. And it was a unbelievably great balance. Loved the balance.
Well, I love it. And it's really fun to have you here, and it's been fun to watch you. For those of you who don't know Mark, Mark Seiden is an incredible asset to Workman Success Systems. He's part of our family. He's been a Workman Success Systems coach from the early days. He's at every coach training, and he's very much involved in our content development team. And so when we're developing content or we're creating new programs, for those of you who are going through BAM, AMP, SLAM, and RAMP, there's Mark Seidenisms throughout all of those programs where he shares. He's very deeply focused on the development of his people, and he really pours into them. And he does a lot of things Workman way, and Workman way is a lot of what Mark does. And so we're aligned in our culture and our values, and just really appreciate all that he does for us as a company. Mark, thank you for being here and sharing with us what you're doing. To have somebody that's in the middle of the pandemic, kind of in the epicenter, Westchester County is right where everything went crazy and blew up. To have you on a call today and to have you sharing with us how you're transacting and doing real estate, I think is really important. We have created, our team has put together with Mark and his team a brand new program, and it's called How to Host an Incredible Virtual Open House that gets you real leads. It's a 40-page ebook that we're just announcing and launching today, and the only way you're getting this right now is to be on this webinar. So take a picture of this slide and go to workmansuccess.com/CRM house, and it'll give you everything that you need. And so, Mark, I just want to talk about where a lot of agents have felt like now's a really good time to pull back and to stop working. You've actually increased. You're working more. I tell people I've never worked harder for less. Like I'm.
You probably put it the best way. I'm definitely working more than 18 to 25 hours a week now. I'm back to working there 40, 50 hours a week, which again, some others may be saying, well, that's what I started before doing this, but this is, as you put it, working twice as hard for certainly not quite as much revenue. But I don't really consider it that way. I really consider I'm working this hard for deferred revenue. So, because everything is about lead generation, lead generation, lead generation, lead generation. And as I said, right before this, we started this, where I got this call from this lady that doesn't know me from the hole in the wall, just from this carnation. And she basically said, when I sell, you're my guy. Now, that may be in a month, that may not be for 5 years, but more than that is I know I'm going to get referrals from this lady. And because she's going to tell everybody who happens to be in charge of a garden club that, Mark Seiden, Mark Seiden, Mark Seiden, and all I did was put a carnation out there. So everything is about lead generation. And so when everybody else is pulling back, that's when you need to go forward, on steroids.
It's funny because when we look at the SLAM program and our listing agent mastery product that Mark was heavily involved in, we had a really good marketing program for open houses. And then Mark said, yeah, but what if we put that program on steroids? What if we really beefed it up? What if we did more signs and more balloons and we did more interaction and did more marketing? And that program has made such a tremendous impact. It was really interesting to me that, you're the live open house guy. You do open houses like a wild man. And now all of a sudden that massive way of generating leads is over. Stops. Can't do them.
Done.
So how did you take the concept of doing live open houses and moving online successfully. And I want you to talk about, and let's just go through it. We've got some slides. Let's just go through it, share with your thought process, how you're doing it, and let's break this down for everybody. And all this content is in that new ebook. So you'll get it as we deliver that at the end of the presentation today. Go.
Great. So here's the key about open houses that most people really don't understand. And it's always frustrated me with agents with open houses. So I'm just going to say it, and I'm just going to lay it out there. The purpose of an open house is not to show the house, and it's not to sell the house. Period. End of statement. And I don't know about any of your percentages of success out there, but the number of houses that we've actually sold from the open house, from someone coming from the open house, is statistically low, just very low. So if you're not really selling a lot of the houses from the open house, then why are you doing the open house? It's got one reason and one reason only: to get leads, listing leads and buyer leads. Probably a lot more buyer leads than listing leads, but to get leads. So our entire on-site open house program that Verl was talking about was all about developing leads. And we even have a script for the on-site that starts with LP from LP Mama. And that going through the house, it's all about LP, 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 and then getting through the most that you can during the on-site. It's not about the house. So when we had to go from on-site to virtual, it really wasn't that difficult for us conceptually, because we were all about lead generation, lead generation, lead generation from an open house, not showing the open house. So what is the backbone for that? What that means is I've seen a lot of my competitors doing these live Facebook open house tours. And they're nice and they're cool and they're fun, and some of them look a lot more professional than mine, but they have no way to grab the lead. And that to me is a big problem. That's showing the house. So all that we do is all about grabbing the lead. So in order for someone to go to an open house, they have to register for a virtual open house. Now you can't register on Facebook, but what you can do on Facebook is put a banner message on there with a Zoom registration. So in case they want to ask any questions during the live Facebook, they can click on the Zoom registration. When they click on the Zoom registration, oh, they have to register. What a concept. And when they register, you now have someone who just registered for your open house, just like if you were doing an on-site open house. And that's the key.
You know, we talk about the advantages of doing virtual open houses, and there's some significant advantages to that. You know, I think about, you know, when you run an open house, Mark, and you play it in a Zoom, is that the only time you ever hold it open? Do you run it again? Does it become evergreen?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we post all our, on our website, we now created a link area on our website that says virtual open houses. So all the open houses that we have, we now put there, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And I like the scale because that's exactly what it does. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And once you have that virtual open house, it's there for everybody to see. But we've repeated the open houses. So we have some properties, we've already done 2 or 3 virtual open houses because every agent says things differently. Every buyer has different questions, and they just keep building and building and building. And I'm going to repeat myself. I have more buyer agents that are busier now in a freaking pandemic than they were prior to the pandemic. That's just
it's incredible.
Unbelievable.
So when you do these, when you get these hundreds of people online going through your open houses and you're reposting them, how do you share that feedback with your seller? How's that impacted your relationship with the seller when you show them all the exposure their property's getting without people walking through it?
Well, I got to tell you, it's really great because we actually do a couple of exposures. And I think even one of them I forgot to even send to Alyssa. But since all this, you know, we constantly take all this exposure and we put it on Facebook. And we've become Facebook animals. So anybody that's Facebook friends of mine, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm sorry, but we've become Facebook animals. And our Facebook hits and likes and shares have exploded. And then we take that 28-day, every week, Facebook just automatically sends you what's been happening every 28 days. And we send that to our sellers and even put it on Facebook so they can see that they're getting exposure. We take all their Facebook hits from just their open house and we send it to the sellers so they can see their exposure. We have a virtual open house summary form from the number of people that have registered and how many people were on and so on and so forth. And we put that in a form and we leave that, we email that to the seller within 15 minutes of the open house. So the sellers get all this either instantaneous or weekly reporting that they've never gotten from any other agent. And they just think it's blowing everybody away.
Yeah, it really is. So we talked about the three things, right? It gives you scale, it gives you increased exposure, and then the last thing is it's evergreen, right? Is when you do
it's free. Yeah, you just keep sending it and sending it and sending it. Now, when we get buyers that, I missed the open house, we go, great. Just go to homeman.net and click on virtual open houses. And we purposely don't put the open houses in any sort of order. We want them to scale through and have to attempt to find it per se, because they may find another property that they think is kind of really cool, or for their friend, or for whatever it is. So it's really just created a lot of crossover marketing without it costing one additional penny, one piece of paper, and it just keeps getting reused in a very positive way. I almost call it like recycling.
I'm kind of a no bullcrap guy. Like I said, I want to see results. Share with me some results.
Yeah. And this was one of actually the first ones we did. We had 11 online registrations, and these were one of them that we weren't doing very well at all. And from that, we had 5 virtual ERRs, exclusive right to represent, buyer agreement signed. And we never met the people.
Yeah. We're going to have lots of questions, and I'm going to take a break in a minute. We'll get to the questions. So there's already a lot of questions coming in. I encourage you to write your questions, and I'll do my best with Mark. I think a lot of the questions will be answered in the presentation, so just bear with us for a minute as we take through that. So let's go through and tactically, it's kind of fun when we do webinars like this. This isn't a sales webinar. This is like I'm going to give you everything free. And so we're just going to tactically take everybody through how do we do this and how do we do it well. And
Verl, I just want to let you know is that, prior to the pandemic, we had never done a virtual open house. So this entire virtual house presentation that you're seeing was done in either 4 or 5 weeks of doing things, and this worked and that failed. So we tweaked it and changed it and changed it and tweaked it. And every weekend on our Monday huddle, we have a longer huddle on Monday to go through what happened with the open house of the weekend, so we can just keep tweaking and changing and tweaking. And this is just over 5 weeks, and we developed this entire process in that short a time.
So Mark, do you believe that when you're done with the pandemic and everyone's back out there and they're going back to whatever the new normal is going to be, you'll stop doing virtual open houses?
Oh, no way. Are you kidding me? This is now going to be something that is now going to be the easiest thing to do now on a Wednesday night at 6:30 or whenever it may be. I mean, we'll certainly do our on-site ones also, but this is now going to be a permanent marketing part of our program.
And so I'm going to let you run for a minute without asking questions and kind of take us through how do you prep, what's before, during, and after to create this virtual open house on steroids. And I'm just going to let you go through. We'll go slide to slide and go through it.
Okay. So basically, this is going to be actually what someone can download when they do it. So, and that's why, Verl, as you said, it's many, many, many pages. But basically, the first stage is preparation. Now, I told you I have a lot of admin staff. So we basically have an army of people to do this. And the reason why the army part is good is that means each person can spend less time on just their part to do the open house. So could one person do, if you're a one person per team, can you do all this? The answer is yes. It's just going to take a lot of time to set this up. So the more team members that you have that you can tap as a resource to be part of your army, that just means each person can spend less time on it, which means each person can do many other things. And what we really did is we attempted to take as much as we could off the buyer agent themselves on preparing for the open house. So the buyer agent can work with buyers and do negotiations and do buyer representation. And so we call the buyer agent kind of like the talent, like the news program talent. So there's a huge production staff that's setting everything up. And there is prep that the news reporter has to do before they just sit there behind the desk. But they don't have to worry about all the technical and all the paperwork and all the production. Verl, just kind of like what this is. You know, as great as this presentation is, Verl didn't do the presentation. Verl's team did the presentation to make Verl look good because he hired great people. That's what our staff does to make our buyer agent look unbelievable for the open house, even though the buyer agent is the talent. So it's prep, 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 prep. So this is pretty much the size of our team, you know, that really puts everything together. So it's pretty large, and we also even include a lender. We have three preferred lenders on our team, and they are actually at the open house, so people can ask questions about getting pre-approved, or they are actually communicated to about being approved after the open house. So again, before the open house, you know, it's just like anything else. Just have the right product and the right process. Matter of fact, when we were putting this together, I found out one of the things that I did not have on our list was the phone stabilizer. So while Alyssa and I were putting this together, I said, Alyssa, can you hold on a second? And I sent an email to my team. We ordered a phone stabilizer for my virtual person, you know, my person who's going to do it. So starting this weekend, that person's going to have a phone stabilizer. So a lot of it is getting the right equipment and the right process. And again, when you get this program downloaded to you, you will see a quite extensive list of items that you can have. But the more items that you have, the easier the open house is. Promotion is huge. So we do a lot of Facebook. We do a lot of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and so on and so. We use Hootsuite. So when we market on one, it goes to a whole bunch of them. We put things on the MLS, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, and now it's on the MLS. That means it's on all my competitors' websites too about having a virtual open house. We created a virtual open house brochure that we post on our website and so on and so forth, that again uses our 800 number IVR system. So again, if they use our 800 number IVR system in order to get the Zoom registration, when they use the 800 number IVR system, what do we get? Lead information.
Right. Who do you use? Who's your IVR using?
I use Arch, and that's only because I've been using them, I would say probably for close to 20 years. I mean, it's just because I've used them, but I know a lot of them are really, really good. But we actually, for our on-site open houses, we always did a mailing. So on the left, you'll see a sample of our open house mailing. We actually had a lot of things pre-printed in color, pre-scored on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, you know, kind of thicker stock to go through the post office. And then we just overprint the information just for that open house. So we did that for on-site, but we're doing it for the virtual also. We always had open house writers for our for sale signs. We quickly ordered virtual open house writers just to put there. So we just had those for the first time this past weekend. And again, we don't put the URL or make it easy for people to find the URL. They have to call the 800 number to get the lead. And then you'll see through the process when you get that, it's also creating a Zoom registration. You do not want to do a Zoom without getting people to register. Because if they don't register, to put it in perfect old English, you ain't got no leads. You must get leads. You have to get lead info. And we do know that some of the lead info is bogus. 555, 555, 5555. But you get that on on-site registrations too. We've had people go to on-site open houses and you get both this information. That's just part of the process. So I don't worry about the bogus information. I worry about getting information because I know there's a certain percentage that's great information. And those are leads. So you have to create a Zoom registration. So during the open house, again, you have your people. We have a videographer. We had our first videographer that was actually the seller. So the seller wanted nobody in the house, not even our open house assistant. So the seller was our videographer, and it worked out great. And so we had our whole team working with the seller. We started about a half hour, 45 minutes, went through a little mock open house with the seller first. And then during the Zoom one, we did it with the seller, and he kind of screwed up at the beginning where he was doing a selfie before the house. So it was kind of funny at the beginning, but it worked great. And the interesting thing is, as imperfect as this open house is, it actually makes it more real for the consumer, and they actually like it better when it's not quite so perfect, because then it's real.
Yeah, it's authentic.
So we prepare a lot of paperwork, again, remember, for the talent. We also use our VAs that are in the Philippines for my outdesk. They're actually our Zoom moderators. So they're moderating the whole thing, switching things between screens, just like you see what's going on with Verl now. So we've got a lot of different forms. So we have a brochure of the house, which is not shown here, but we also have a different brochure that shows the buyer's agent for that house, the lender. And again, we have a separation between buyer agents and listing partners. So we always have our listing partner there. But as you can see, it's not a direct URL link that someone can click on. It's the 800 number with an extension. Lead, lead, lead. Now, with all our properties, we have a photographer that does extremely basic, and I mean basic, floor plans. But what I had my listing partner do on the floor plan for the open houses is that she and the seller get on the phone and they start talking about the most important attributes of the locations of each of the rooms. So my talent, i.e. the buyer's agent, when they're talking about the room, already have the notes on what's important both to their listing agent and the seller. God forbid you actually say things that the seller wants you to say about their house. It's all in the notes on the floor plan. If you don't have a floor plan, then just put notes room by room. That's okay. But at least now the agent is now discussing things that the listing agent knows important, that the seller thinks is important, and just makes everybody happy and informed during the open house. And I always make sure that the agent has a copy of the listing sheet in case someone chats and says, hey, what are the taxes or the common charges or whatever it is. But these are some of the materials that we have up front. We have a virtual open house script. This gets tweaked probably almost every week. Just literally last minute, 2 days ago, I said to Alyssa, I said, oh, take out the old one. Here's the new one, because we're constantly tweaking and tweaking. But basically, our talent goes through the open house script. And there are instructions there on, what to show at what point in time that the moderator would do, what the agent says. It's just really all there. So, even talks about pausing 10 seconds, because if you're doing Zoom and live Facebook at the same time, I need to let you all know that with live Facebook and Zoom at the same time, live Facebook has a delay. So if you start your Zoom immediately after you say, start video, some things are going to get cut off. So we even put in pause 10 seconds just to make sure that everything works. Okay. So this is, again, just part of the scripting, just, and just to make it as friendly as possible, but to give people instructions of what they need to do. And all this is part of the download that you'll be getting after you get, after this webinar. So you don't really have to write any of this down. This all is in your package. But it just really shows you kind of things that we do in order to make sure that our open houses are consistent no matter who's doing it. And the script is great.
I just love that everything's broken down, Mark. People are afraid to do it because they don't know what to say. They're afraid they're going to say the wrong thing. And it just follow the script.
Just follow the script, right? Now we even have, again, from doing this and finding out, challenges that we had from week to week, we had a couple people that kept chatting question after question after question after question, and we really couldn't get through the open house. So we pretty much muted that person and sent them a private chat. Not for everyone to see, just a private chat to that person. And this is what we said. Those are great questions. However, we have a limited time, so on and so forth. So basically what we're asking them to do is to, send their questions in an email, and we'll have our agent get back to them. So again, what's really great about doing that, oh, well, now you'll have another way to get someone who registered the real information. Oh my goodness, you got a real lead. Because during the open house, you don't want one person to or two people to kind of take over your open house, and then you can't get through it. So we found a workaround. We call that a workaround. And you can do Zoom and Facebook Live at the same time. So you don't have to have two cameras or anything. It's one video. You're doing both at the same time. There is a way through Zoom that you can click on and do Facebook Live at the same time. And all those instructions are part of that huge packet.
I actually
After the open house.
I do a live Facebook Live every Wednesday. We're doing one today with Amy Somerville, the Vice President of Training and Development for RE/MAX Worldwide. And we'll be on Zoom, and it'll be a Facebook Live. So you'll see an environment where we do that. So if you haven't registered, that's a good example of how to do that. We're going to show that here. It's the next one after this one. So that's kind of exciting. I love the details and the content that's in here. Let's go into what happens next, right? So you've got people to register. You know who they are. We're interacting with them during the open house. The buyer's agents and the lenders, everybody's following the scripts to be able to demonstrate in a professional way that gives you some polish to the presentation. Now what? So now you've got people that have gone through. Let's go into what you do with them after.
Right. So we have, again, we use My Outdesk. So there's a way through Zoom that you can collect all the registrations. So the first thing that happens, and this has got to be immediate. So this is where agents usually fall apart. They do their open house. They're really busy with other things. They have 5 showings afterwards, and they don't follow up with the leads. And I'm telling you, that does not happen on my team. So within minutes after the open house, the virtual assistant is grabbing the registrations. I have a little Excel spreadsheet that I created for it. And they also make sure that they enter everything in the Boomtown. So my VAs do 2 things at the same time. It's entered in Boomtown and sent to the agent, and then I get a synopsis. So I know how many people were on the registrations, how many people claimed they had an agent, and how many people claimed that they didn't have an agent. And they go into Boomtown, and my agents are on this stuff like white on rice. And if they're not, there's a lot to be paid. And, and they go into Qualify on Boomtown, or if you're using Sync or whatever CRM you use, you must work the leads immediately.
So next day's not okay?
Next day is we release you to a competitive real estate agency next day.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, people want to be followed up with. They want to know that you're interested.
It's immediate. It has to be immediate.
Tell us about the open house.
Right. And this is what I tell my agents, Verl, that a lot of people don't understand. Just because people were registered on this open house, do you really think that consumer before this open house and after this open house is now registering for another open house, or on Zillow or on Choya, looking at the pictures of a whole bunch of other real estate agents and clicking away? So you've got micro minutes of opportunity to get these people to talk to you before they are on to the next agent.
Yeah, so one of your agents, Michelle, says, I can attest to that. It's true.
Yeah. And that's what agents don't seem to realize. They think that once they get a registration, it's theirs. I never knew that there weren't any other real estate agents out there doing real estate. I had no idea. These consumers are clicking and clicking and clicking every 3 minutes. So you've got 2 or 3 minutes to get their attention, or next. This is an open house summary that we have. So we provide our sellers this, we had this on the on-site. We also have this for the virtual. And this is something that the seller would get immediately. So if it was on-site, we'd fill it in and leave it at the house, or take a picture of it and email it to the seller if it was a vacant house. And virtually, it's something that we do, and we just email it to them, because the sellers always like to know, well, how many people were there? What did people say? And so we have a whole form for that, and sellers get this instantaneously. And I've gotten 2 listings because of this, because they've shared this with other sellers who are on with other agents who are doing open houses, and those sellers never got feedback. And our sellers got instantaneous feedback. And when that listing expired, I was called before it even expired, come list my house.
See, I love that. I love your energy and passion behind it. So I love what you're doing beforehand to prepare everybody to practice the scripts and dialogues. How much do you practice this stuff? How much do you role play or really practice with your agents before they do it live?
Oh, that's really a great question. We actually have 2 role plays a week. That's just part of our week. We do 4 huddles, 1 huge team meeting. And after 2 our huddles, we have a 1-hour role play 2 days a week. So I would tell you for 4 straight weeks, all we did was this role play. And that was another way that we were tweaking and what works and what doesn't work, and teaching agents how to do a split screen. So we taught them how to put the script on the screen, so they're not reading it from down here or reading it from over there or whatever, teaching people how to look at a camera. So some of it was just teaching basic tech and how to split a screen between seeing what's going on with Zoom and being able to read their script, just like newscasters do. So they're looking at the camera. So this was literally 4 weeks in a row. But you know what, Verl, you know what's better than not doing it at all? Doing it poorly. If you do it and you screw up and the words aren't right, you're looking down, that is still better than not doing it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Mark, you've been doing real estate for a long time, and as a coaching client, you and I worked together one-on-one. It was a pleasure to work with you. What kind of an impact has coaching with Workman had on the way you think and run your business and your team?
Oh, I wouldn't be what I'd be doing today if it wasn't for Workman, period. End of statement. I mean, what you do is you really teach efficiency. And the interesting part is that, as a coaching client and even someone who coached others, there's so much material that people concentrate on, oh, there's so much material, how the heck am I going to do that? But how you do that is you also teach efficiency. So you can't add 24 hours a day. And by the way, who the heck would want to? I mean, why would anybody want to have a 25-hour day? But what we teach is how to get things done in a shorter amount of time. So what used to take 6 hours to do, if we can learn to do that in an hour, you just created more time to now do more things to be able to build your business. So again, with this, for example, this virtual open house program, yes, one person could do it, but it's probably going to take them 2 full days. But if you have an army of people to do it, it's only going to take you an hour or 2 a week to get it done, and you still have time to do everything else. So there is no other way except for the Workman way.
Well, I appreciate that. I want to share with everybody what this document looks like that everyone's going to get as part of the download today. This is it. I was going through it before. It's called How to Host an Incredible Virtual Open House That Gets You Real Leads with, by Mark Seiden. And you can see this by Mark Seiden here at the bottom. And he's worked with our team on putting this all together. But literally, this is everything. It's the promotion, how we do it, setting it up, how we're using Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Realtor.com, Zillow, all the things Mark's talked about, the staff members, what each person's role would be. If you don't have a big staff, then you just have one person doing more activities. It's not that you don't do the activities, it just changes how you do it. How you set everything up, what you need. It's broken down step by step by step. What do you guys think? Anybody want this? Is this something you guys are excited about? Josh May says it's incredible. Thomas says, I love your discipline. This is what you do 4 days before the open house, 3 days before the open house, 1 day before the open house. Here's the emailing sequence of what we say and how you do it. This is what you do the day of, what you set up, how you set up, who starts it, what you click on, how do you set the attendees up so that it runs really, really well. Thank you for the great comments. It's brilliant. Some say, Mark. Here's following the open house script. Here's the afterwards, what we do. This is what it might look like when you're interacting with people. This is the marketing or the admin's job and the listing coordinator process, what they need to set up before, during, and after. So we've taken all of the things that Mark's talked about and we've built them into processes and systems. And now this is being given to everybody. Now, normally these are things that you would see that would go to just our coaching clients, and the coaching clients would have access to this data. This is one of hundreds of documents and systems that we share with everybody. But we decided during COVID-19 at Workman Success Systems that we were going to serve regardless of the opportunity. And that means whether you join us as a client at some point or not, it doesn't matter. We want to give you all the resources you need to be able to serve your families and take care of your clients at this time. And that's why we're just giving this away to everybody. This is what we do during the day of the open house. Look at the details that is into the program. It is step by step written out for you. And then, of course, the follow-up, what you do afterwards, the appendix process. And here's screenshots of how we set the Zoom calls up, how we do everything. And so the team has gone through and they've taken what Mark and a few of our other amazing clients have done, and they've built it into a program that you can actually follow. It makes it simple. So you can, we enable the waiting room so that people go into a waiting room before you let them into the class, like we did here today. By the way, how many pages is this, Mark? It's like 40. It's like 42.
Yeah,
so
42.
It breaks down. Yeah, here's your scripts. Here's the checklist. Here's the boxes. All of the tools that you need are there. So let me take a minute. It's 42 pages. Wow. And let's give Matt Hill a high five, who's our graphic designer, who put all this together, and let him know how much we appreciate that. And Marissa on the writing team that created and wrote all of this. I want to take just a minute. So high five to the team for putting that together. Thanks,
you guys made what I gave you look so pretty. It's unbelievable. I mean, my stuff was just done on like Word documents, and it's like to see it on here. It's like, holy crap, this is nice.
Lots of shout outs for people. Let me get to questions, and let's just open this call up. We've got about 10 minutes that we can just ask Mark anything. So let's go. A lot of people saying that's exactly what we needed. Excited to utilize everything. Kim Pratt says, as always, thank you, Mark. A lot of gratitude. Let's see if we can get to some questions. If you asked a question earlier that I didn't get to, please ask it again, because there's so many comments in the chat. I'm scrolling through to get to all the questions. So let's get to here too. It says,
hey, Verl, before you go to a question, can I just mention one very quick thing?
Sure.
One of the things that I did not discuss is that there are some people that, you may not be able to do the virtual open house itself. So a lot of people have done Matterport in advance or some virtual things in advance. You can use that as your virtual open house. So you don't have to have someone at the house doing it live. So if you already have your Matterport tour or virtual tour or whatever you have in advance, you can use that as your virtual open house, as long as you just have someone there talking someone through it and making sure if someone chat and says, hey, can you back up? Then on your Matterport tour, just back up to that room. So you can do it either way. And I just really want to make sure that I put that out there for people to know.
No, I think that's really important. I think that walking someone through a Matterport in a virtual environment is so much more engaging than allowing them to try and figure out the rights and lefts to go up and down the stairs and all the things that are available there. So that's a really good point. Is there a time of the day that you found that gets most people there? Have you been playing with different times of day? And that's from Catherine.
Yeah, we do 4 a day. So we're doing, well, I hope I don't mess this up. I think it's 11, 1:30, 3 and 4:30, I think it is. And we've been doing Saturdays and Sundays. And I can tell you statistically, yeah, we haven't found any differential at all. We thought maybe that rainy days would be busier than bright and sunny days. And we found out that this past weekend, which was probably one of the nicest weather weekends we've had in New York in a long time, we got swamped. So we have found so far no statistical information one way or the other on day or time. I think a lot of it just has to do with how long has a property been in the market? Is it in the meat and potato price range, or is it one of those price ranges where it's just a niche property? I'd say that's probably the biggest variable.
I think that's really important. And the other thing is there's an underlying differentiator today in that people are home, they're sequestered. And so they have like what is working today is going to be very different when we all go back to work. And the best time of the day is going to change. So we're going to have to really watch that. I think that's a good thing to stay in our chat groups and be involved in the webinars. And of course, Coaching Reliance will get that information from their coaches as we share that each week on our coach training calls. We're always sharing data and things that make a difference. Tina wanted to know if you're doing right now. So are you putting Matterport and floor plans on your MLS?
Well, listen, everybody does it differently. We do Matterport only for our high-end properties. We have regular virtual tours on our, non-luxury properties. But for our virtual open houses, I'm actually sending someone live to actually shoot it at that moment in time.
Yeah.
But everybody does it differently. I know a whole bunch of people that do Matterport on every property, and that's absolutely amazing. So if that's on your list, you do, that's great. We don't have a Matterport camera, so we hire another company to do it. So that's a little pricey for us. But if you have your own Matterport camera and that's what you're into, or you have someone that's into that, that would be amazing.
Yeah, a lot of our teams have purchased Matterport cameras over the last 30 days.
Right.
And where it wasn't a big deal before, it's become their lifesaver. And so we don't sell Matterport, but it's certainly, we have a lot of people using it. It's been a good resource or tool.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about the Facebook banner and what you're doing to promote registrations? Give a little more insight there.
Sure. I wish my my marketing person, and her title is Director of Fun Times. She loves that title. So that's the title of my marketing person. I wish she could be here today, but actually about 5 hours before this call, her grandmother just died of COVID, literally 5 hours ago. So she's not on this call. Yeah, what she was able to point out is that, on Facebook Live, you can put some sort of banner message. So on the banner message is the direct link to Zoom. And the reason why we do the direct link and not the 800 number is because once they click the direct link to Zoom, that person has to register on Zoom. So we get the registration that way. So there is a way, just on any Facebook Live that you do, you can put a banner message. That's our banner message.
Love that. Okay, let's see. Other questions. Are you putting your Matterport tours and your floor plans on the MLS?
Yes. Well, our MLS allows one, so we do one or the other. So if I have Matterport, I put Matterport.
Okay. Okay, so I love that. So Jean from South Africa says hello, and
Wow.
a lot of love in the webinars. Do you use...
Hey, Verl, I don't know if you noticed, one of my own agents wanted to correct me in what time we do our open houses. She said,
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so it's 11, 1, 3, and 4:30. But again, guys, that doesn't have to be in stone. That's based on the proximity of where our properties are and how fast we think our person get from one to the other and still have time for a potty and food. So that's our times. But I thought it was cute that my agent corrected me. Thank you, Michelle.
Hey, if we didn't have our people keeping us on track, we'd all be messed up.
That's right.
I'm just going to leave this slide on the screen so people can see where to get the download. I want to leave that there. A couple more questions. How long are your open houses? Like from start to finish, how long is a normal open house? Very good question from Tina.
So Michelle may help me with this one also because she does more than I do. But I would say overall, probably 20 minutes to maybe 35 minutes, depending on the size of the house. So, I would say, anywhere between a, 1,200 and 2,000 square foot house, it's probably not more than 20 minutes, 20, 25 minutes. We have some houses that are 4,500 to 6,500 square feet. Obviously, it's going to be a little longer. We purposely don't want it to be an hour or 2 hours. So this is how we define a virtual open house. You ready? It's a movie trailer. We want people to pay to go to the movie, i.e. register or ask questions to become a consumer of the Mark Seiden real estate team. We don't want to overgive too much information. We don't want to show the movie. It's a trailer. We want them to want more.
That's a really interesting concept. Yeah, that's an interesting concept. So most people think about it as I'm selling the house. You're generating the lead. And that is such a different mind shift. I hope everybody picks up on that because it's not about, yes, we want to sell the house, right? That's always the goal of all of our marketing. But the purpose of the open house is the lead gen. And when you think about it that way, it changes your interaction and what you show and what you tell and the questions that you do. Have you tried this with, and this is a question from let's see who it's from. Gosh, it's gone so fast. The question was, it's from Rui in Texas. He wants to know, have you tried doing this with builders and would it work any differently if you were using a new construction or for a builder?
We don't have a lot of new construction going on right here. So the answer is no, but the answer is if I had one, I wouldn't change a freaking thing. I'd do it exactly the same way. And I know someone else just asked a question, What kind of camera do I use for that? So let me tell you the expensive camera that we use for this. Ready? Yeah, it's called a cell phone.
We all have them. We
Yeah.
all have our selfie sticks, and you do things to the
Freaking
stabilizer makes a big difference.
Right. I mean, listen, as I said, I know there's a lot more professional stuff out there that can look freaking awesome. And if you have it, or you're into it, or that's your technological love, go for it. It's not wrong. It's right. Do it if that's what makes you happy.
Yeah.
I'm tech savvy enough to know what works and doesn't work. Cell phone works great.
Yeah, it absolutely does work great. Great questions. A lot of thank yous. Okay, yeah. So somebody's asking. So Patel. So Mr. Patel says, when you're doing an open house for a builder, how do you control it so the lead comes to you, not the builder? It's the same thing as if one of your buyers under contract goes out and drives around and goes in the builder open while on the one Saturday you took off.
Well, listen, that's why we do registration. So, if they have to register for the Zoom call, I got the buyer. I have the information. Again, depending if they give me good information or not. So, but, there's only so much that you can control. And I don't worry about the stuff that's uncontrollable. What I work on is that I just know there's many more things that I can control that I just failed to control before. That doesn't mean it's uncontrollable. It just means I failed to control it. So all the processes and systems and everything that you see here is because I found a way to control things I just wasn't controlling before. But if there's a buyer that just wants to give us bad information, that decides they want to go to the seller directly or the builder directly, or that's just the exception to the rule person they want to do, I'm not gonna worry about that one because it's one. So if that one goes away, oh well. I want to concentrate on getting the other 49 out of 50 that I can control. I'm not going to worry about the 1 out of 50 that I can't.
That's such a great, it's a great advice. Do everything you can and capture as much as you can. And the ones you don't get, it's okay. Next, right? Go to the next one. We got another one happening at 4:30, another one at 1, tomorrow at 2:30. They're going on all the time, and they're always bringing new people in the pipeline. I love that. Have you found any other channels that have been effective at promoting the virtual tours? So you talked about going on the MLS, so it goes on, your competing broker sites and everybody sees your virtual open. You talked about Facebook, Instagram. What about LinkedIn? What about doing LinkedIn?
Yeah, when we put it on Hootsuite, again, I wish my marketing person here, she's so much better at this than I am. But yes, we're on LinkedIn, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter are the 4 main ones. Does it go anywhere else? I'll be the first one to tell you. I really don't know. That's why my director of Fun Times is so great at what she does. So she's just a queen of social media. The postcards are really key. It's really great now that other sellers actually get postcards because there's so many agents that are doing nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
So if a seller actually sees that there's a real estate agent, not just marketing, but marketing a seller's property to get buyers, that's more huge now than it was 3 months ago. And then also the MLS. The MLS is really big because obviously it goes to all the websites out there.
So if I had a poll, I would do it right now, but I didn't set it up beforehand. But I'm curious, how many of you want a position on your team called the Director of Fun Times? Is anybody else like, oh, I got to get that one? I need someone like that on my team. Go into my Jack knows. I saw Jackie go in and type in quickly. Yep, Tina says, me too. Matt Hill, our graphic designer that does all of our graphic design and everything, he says that, he's seen magazine covers on national magazines shot with an iPhone. And he says, your iPhones today have incredible pictures. And I know some of the new Androids as well. A lot of yeses. I want Director of Fun Times. I think we may have Directors of Fun Times on our teams. We just don't title them right. We call them admins. And nobody wants to be an admin. They want to be the Director of the Fun Times.
Yeah. Because also that person is also in charge of all our client appreciation events. I mean, we're up to now going to be doing 5 client appreciation events a year. Well, that's our Director of Fun Times. And then I got something from, I think it was Lee Tessier, who does small parties for buyers and sellers, that when a buyer's moving into a house and when a seller's just living, he does a little going away party, a welcome to the neighborhood party. And we're gonna start to do that once all this COVID stuff goes away. Well, who do you think's in charge of that? Director of Fun Times.
I love that. I love it. So Mark, as we wrap this up, I appreciate all of your input and thanks for sharing. I mean, how great is it, folks, to have somebody like Mark who just gives you his A game? Like he just gives you everything that he's actually doing instead of holding back and not sharing with you. I love that he's on, as of an hour before this call, Mark was saying, hey, here's something we just tried that worked better. Put this in the program instead. And so we're updating and changing and doing it. So just from all of us, Mark, and you have amazing comments from the group. Thank you for sharing and thanks for being the person that you are and continuing to be a great leader, not just with your team, but within the Workman family as well. So thank you for all that you're doing. On behalf of Workman Success Systems, for those of you that are coaches and clients, we want to thank you and let you know that we're here to help. If there's anything we can do to help you, please reach out to your coach and we'll do that. For those of you who aren't in the Workman family, I hope this has been valuable for you. And if you'd like to know more about what it looks like to work with somebody like a Mark or a Lee Tessier or a Brooke Signs or the people that you see on the team, just reach out to us. We'll follow up with you and sign up for a business consultation. And we'd love to look at your business and see if there's an opportunity for us to help you grow as well. So on behalf of us at Workman Success, Mark Seiden and the team, our prayers and thoughts are with all of you. Thank you for everything you do. And goodbye, everybody.
Thanks. And thanks again, Verl. You're awesome.
You're awesome.
Bye, dude. See you later.
Bye, everybody.